Hello. In the last video we got the enemy to follow our player and our player to hit it. Now we're going to set up the player to jump. Please ignore the cockerel crowing in the background there. So yeah, we're going to set up the floor and we're going to get our player to jump around on the floor. But before we can do all this, we've got to create our floor object. So we're going to go into Resources, Create Object. I'm simply going to call this Floor. We're going to have the floor, and we're going to set it as a solid. And that's all you really have to do with that. Just set it as a solid, it's done. So go click OK. So there's the floor ready and waiting for us to use. So now with the floor all set up, we're going to get the player to collide with the floor, well, to detect the collision with the floor and to set its all gravity up. This can be tricky, but hopefully you won't find it too difficult. But before we can do anything, we've got to set the collision with the floor. So I'm going to add event, collision with the floor. Just going to check if it's colliding with the floor there. And we're going to, let's see, move. Actually, I've forgotten which one. No, that's vertical speed. Ah, here it is. Move to contact. So, I say this can be a bit tricky, but I'm going to set direction as direction. So it's going to follow its own direction, and we're going to set the maximum as 12. And we're going to set the let's see, not the vertical, yeah, leave it solid object, so again solid object, so click OK. And next we're going to set the vertical speed, so where is that? Is that? Yeah, vertical speed. Oh, is that the one that sets it? No, I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yeah, this is vertical speed. Yeah, set the vertical speed. And we're going to set this one to 0 for now. I'm going to leave it as OK. So we've got those set up. So it's going to move in a direction towards, check with in contact with the floor. And if it's in contact with the floor, its vertical speed is going to be nothing. It's not going to move. It's just going to sit on the floor if it's in contact with the floor, which is exactly what we want. Please ignore the dog in the background. So next we're going to get the player to check if he's in contact with the floor. And if he isn't, he's going to fall. Otherwise, if he's in contact with the floor, that's it. It just sets the gravity. It sets the gravity. He's not going to fall off if the floor disappears. And we want to be able to get our character to jump up and down and everything. So we're going to add an event, step, and remember, step. As the game's running, these steps are going to check every little step along the way as the game's running to see if the following is correct or not. So, because this is going to be quite complicated, I'm going to put some comments to break this up, because we're going to add to this a bit later on. It's going to be a long one here, so I like to make sure I know exactly which part goes with which. So Control, I'm going to use this comment icon, and I'm going to check if there is error. The comments, you can put whatever you like in there. I'm just going to check if there's any error about. Hopefully there is, otherwise my character won't breathe. And we're going to check, again, in the questions, we're going to check if this is empty. We're going to check if there's no solid objects nearby. So its X is going to remain as 0 and its Y will be 1. And yes, we're going to check if it's relative to our character's position. So it's going to, as I say, it's going to check. So check empty means that if there's no solid object, so it's checking, is there a solid object not here? So it's kind of weird there. So if there isn't a solid object, we want gravity to kick in. So I'm going to go to the Move tab, and this blue double arrow here, that's the gravity. So I'm going to leave it at self, because we're always dealing with the character's self. And we're going to set the speed, well, the direction to 270, which is down. That's degrees. And the gravity is going to be 0.5. We don't need to set the relevance is just going to be, that direction down and the speed of the gravity. So, okay. But now, if there's no collision, it's going to check for gravity. But I want to set the gravity again, because I don't want my character to continuously fall through the floor. I want to say if there is an object, I then want to set the gravity to 0. So to do that, we're going to put in an else condition. So there we go, else. And then we can bring in, okay, move tab here. I can set the gravity again, direction 270. Doesn't really matter at this point. And leave the gravity as 0. So I'm just going to explain this. We're going to checking if there isn't any solid objects whatsoever beneath the character, and if there isn't any, it's going to activate the gravity, and he's going to move to 0.5 in the direction of 270, which is down. But by having this else, it's like saying but or else. If there is a solid, then the gravity is going to be turned off. So that's a really nice little piece there. Hopefully I've explained that quite clearly. So now I'm going to go into controls because I want another comment. We're going to check now we're going to set the vertical speed, and we're going to also limit it as well. So limit, let's see, vertical speed, so that we've got, when he's jumping up, gravity pulls him slowly back down. So remember, with a ball, for instance, where a ball's moving up, as it's moving further up, it slows down in its speed because gravity is starting to kick in more, and it's preventing it from moving up, and then it brings it back down to Earth. So gravity's having its impact on there. Unfortunately, you have to think of physics a bit here. So we're going to put in a test variable. So set variable, here we go, test variable. So this variable is going to be speed, and the value of the speed is going to be 12. And we're going to say is it, let's see, larger than. So there we go. So the speed is going to be 12, so it's going up by 12. And if it's larger than it, so I'm going to go OK. So there we go, we've got that variable. We're going to set the vertical speed. So let me just put that one. Yeah. Oop. Set vertical speed to 12. And there we go. And don't need to put relevant. So there we go, that's the nice little setup we've got there with the actions, well, with the gravity and the vertical speed. So remember, you always have gravity pulling you down, you've got vertical speed because when you propel yourself from the ground, you've got a bit of speed pushing you up. That causes you to jump up. So next we're going to set up the keyboard going up. So I'm going to add a vent, and we have keyboard and then up. So when we press the keyboard, we're going to again check for collision. So controls, let's see, here we go, check collision. I always forget which is which, so it's handy to hover over these. So check the collision. So the X is going to be 0 and the Y is 1. And solid only, but this time we're going to set the relative on. So we're going to click OK. And next we're going to set the vertical speed to -10. So where is set vertical speed? That's set gravity. Yeah, set vertical speed. And it's going to be -10. So now we've got that set up. Now one mistake that could happen is that when we're clicking the player fighting, and we're trying to jump at the same time, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to have to set that up. So when he's fighting, we've still got the up section. So I'm going to move it to the side a little bit, and I'm going to open up the player fighting. Move that down a little bit here, and I'm going to set up add event step in the fighting section. And in the step, the lovely thing with this is I can click on this, hold shift on my keyboard, click the top, and right click copy, And in the step for the fighting, I can right click and paste. I will be doing this a bit more later on, especially when setting the health, and I just feel it saves us time rather than doing all this again. Good practice, but if you're in a bit of a rush, why not? So add event, and we're going to set the keyboard up. And in here, I'm just going to go up, and again hold shift, select both of these, and then copy, and paste into there. So there we go. So okay, and okay. And now to test this out, I'm going to update the room, but unfortunately there isn't any solid in the room, so I'm going to maximize this. So we've got a square here. Now the only issue is this block, if we look in the sprite, is 32 blocks wide and 32 blocks high. So I'm going to have to make a few adjustments to the room. So up here, snap X, I don't want it by 16. I'm going to set it to 32 by 32. So that's pretty handy. So I can just bring the block and just, let's see, can I hold shift and just, there you go. I'm just holding shift and drawing out the blocks here. So there we go. We've got nice blocks there. So hopefully, and also just to demonstrate, I'm going to pop a few blocks there. And there you go. Oh, one last thing. When our player's fighting or colliding with the enemy, we want him to be able to continually jump and not have any errors or anything pop up. So again, I'm going to copy and paste quite a few things into there. So I'm going to click OK for now. Go back into, I'm actually going to play fighting. And we've got up and step here, which has already been pasted. So I'm going to add in add event, a collision with the enemy. So it collides with the enemy, and this time I'm going to add change instance. So when he's fighting and he collides with the enemy, so now my character is able to fight back, I can go to here. What was it? Change instance. Yeah, change instance. Can't believe I forgot that. And I'm going to say, right, not self, but the other object. Change it instance to dead. And yes, perform event. So it's going to be, so when he collides with the enemy, it's going to change him to the dead enemy. So okay, and then I'm going to go into step and select all these. Ooh. And copy, then paste. Ooh, why did you move him there? He should be at the top. That's a bit silly. So there we go. And I'm also going to create event collision enemy fighting, because I want to be able to hit him when I'm fighting, and I'm going to copy all this from the enemy section because it's going to have exactly the same thing in the fighting. Copy this one, so I'm also getting the change instance to the dead one. I'm going to paste it in there, and there you go. And I've got the steps. Yep, got the steps as well. So yeah, all these have got the relevant information. So let's give it a test run. So there we go. Yeah, I'm jumping. Suppose you could get the enemy to do things. So now if I hit the enemy, he dies. There we go. And yeah, I'm able to jump. There you go. You've created gravity.